first state that I'm here in my capacity representing the UN ODC as a organized crime and threat monitoring analyst, focusing across the region on this issue. With respect to the scale, it's quite clear that these interconnected transnational organized crime groups are not merely targeting the Philippines, they are targeting other jurisdictions across the region. Casinos and increasingly online casinos, crypto-integrated casinos, and primarily under-regulated or illegal operators.
When it applied po, hindi pa po siya pasok dun sa IGL requirements.
Correct.
Yes. Just to disclose po to this body, the Zunyan po was formerly a service provider under a POGO licensee.
Yeah, that's the point. There's no such thing as provisional license. That's number one. Number two, by the time they applied, hindi siya pasok sa minimum qualification ninyo of capitalization. Correct, attorney?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Tapos high risk pa siya. Tama?
Yes, sir.
Bakit natin pinayagan mag-operate?
Actually, sir, when we gave po the provisional license, they are still undergoing vetting po or the probity check. Kasi po, diba, as we have explained
But
in
the provisional license created problems. They're not qualified in regards to capitalization. There's no such thing as provisional. Dapat simple lang eh. Approve or disapprove. If you have the qualification, approve. Anong nangyari? Hindi sila qualified, binigyan natin ng provision. Nag-operate sila ngayon. High risk pa. That's number one. And then number two, you also mentioned probity. I showed earlier a picture of, that is the president of Hong Sheng, which is a duly licensed POGO licensee. Kanina yung COMSEC namin, pumunta sila kagabi, 10 p.m., no, COMSEC? Kay Jemeline Cruz, nowhere to be found. No such address. And in your guidelines, in rule number 9, regulation number 9, section 3, kasama dito yung probity check. So what happened? May probity check pero fake address. Hindi kasama sa capitalization, hindi pasado. And yet, pinayagan natin mag-operate. And then discover pa, high risk. So in other words, all of these scenarios are already red flags for them not to operate. That's my point. There's no go signal for them to operate. Everything is a red flag. Bakit pa natin pinayagan mag-operate?
I think kasi, sir, the totality of what you have mentioned po happened through time. So during the grant of the provisional license, there was no indications yet of these characterizations. So that's the reason po why they were still given a provisional license.
But I think when they cannot fulfill the capitalization, that's already a no-go.
They are during the process po, during the grant of the provisional license, they have been able to complete po, or they have been able to submit to us the approval of their increase of capital stock of 100 million.
Not on the records. And you said kanina, by the time they applied, hindi pa sila fulfilled in capitalization. So in other words, dapat bumalik sila sa inyo, tapos na yung kanilang increase in capitalization. So my point is we're violating our own guidelines. That's my point. And because we're violating our own guidelines, nangyayari itong mga krimen na ito. So my suggestion to PAGCOR, kung itutuloy nyo ito, let's stick to our guidelines. But like I said in my opening statement, after all of these things, kami nga ni General Villanueva madalas nakikita sa ganito, dapat itigil na itong kalokohan na ito. Kung hindi matatapos tong hearing natin, parati tayong magkikita, Attorney Manahan and General Villanueva. Parati tayong magtatalo dito. Because hindi natatapos to eh. So thank you.
Thank you, Sen. Sherwin. I'd like to now ask a couple of questions to the UNODC. Thank you so much for waiting almost 4 hours. I know you traveled here from Bangkok. Mr. Wojcik, is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, Senator. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Just a couple of questions, and if you could address them briefly, but perhaps submit in writing to the committee any fuller response in the interest of time, but with appreciation for your presence here and your patience. First, could you give us a sense of the scale of the problem, especially where the Philippines is in comparison with our regional counterparts?
Thank you very much, Senator, and it's a great pleasure to be here with this body to be able to provide some insights into this regional issue. First and foremost, just quickly, for my own sake, let me first state that I'm here in my capacity representing the UNODC as a organized crime and threat monitoring analyst, focusing across the region on this issue. With respect to the scale, it's quite clear that these interconnected transnational organized crime groups are not merely targeting the Philippines, they are targeting other jurisdictions across the region. Casinos and increasingly online casinos, crypto integrated casinos, and primarily under-regulated or illegal operators have quite clearly driven some large challenges in the organized crime space. With respect to the scale of the problem, we're quite obviously speaking about a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry across the region, taken together. And with respect to the question on the comparison, I think it's difficult to say. Obviously, the enforcement action by many of our partners here today proves that there are considerable challenges within the jurisdiction in the Philippines. But to say that they, to be able to compare between those that are particularly acute in the Mekong region, for instance, would be difficult to say. I think the problems are different. They are diverse, especially in the context of a regulated jurisdiction such as the Philippines. There's different infrastructure to target for organized crime, and they operate differently between jurisdictions. With that said, I would say that the Mekong, specifically the countries in the Mekong region, are of a particular focus for organized crime groups. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving us in broad but already quite eye-opening strokes the response to that first issue, and we'd really appreciate even more detail in writing after today's hearing. And though you said it's hard to compare us with other countries, perhaps the Philippines is a peculiar case given where we are in terms of the geopolitical dynamics and current tensions in the West Philippine Sea. But are there also national security dimensions cropping up in your investigation of transnational crime and scam complexes in other jurisdictions as well?
Thank you for your question, Senator. I would answer that by saying that in any case in which large, agile, sophisticated organized crime groups are
operations such as here in Bamban, Tarlac, in the Philippines, as we've discussed it so far anyway, would also catch your attention.
They certainly do, and they certainly have. I believe that we've shared, my office has shared with your team our latest threat analysis.
I think he was in the presentation earlier. He's the link between, allegedly, he's the link between Hong Cheng and Zunyuan. And then we also want to request the committee to invite Mr. Shishu Chan. I think it was mentioned by by the good mayor earlier that he is the contact person for Hongsheng, for Hongsheng. And then also, I came across this article, Madam Chair, in Rappler, wherein a certain Jonathan Mendoza, who claims to be the spokesman of Zunyuan, if the addresses of the incorporators are bogus, at least this Mr. Jonathan Mendoza is a real person, no? Because he was interviewed by Rappler. So may I request the good committee to invite Mr. Jonathan Mendoza, because he gave statements to Rappler in regards to this issue. He is the supposed spokesman for Zunyuan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sen. Sherwin. Comsec, please comply. Invite to the next hearing Mr. Wong, Shishu Chan, and Mr. Mendoza. So just one last follow-up question or reiteration before we suspend. Mayor, once again, just for the record, si Jiang Guo ay parehong tao kay Angelito Guo at sila yung ama ninyo. Tama po.
Your Honor, ang ama ko po, yung Chinese name po niya Guo Jiangzhong.
Yes, yun yung sinabi ko. I
Apo.
apologize for my mispronunciation.
Apo.
So yung Chinese name ng ama nyo, si Guo Jiang.
Guo Jiangzhong.
Okay.
Apo.
Of course you have the correct pronunciation. So he is the same person as Angelito Guo and he is your father, correct?
Apo.
Salamat, Mayor. So just briefly by way of suspending, mga kaibigan, imbes na tapusin na sana natin itong mga pagdinig sa POGO, itong hearing ay mas lalong nagbukas pa ng mas maraming tanong. I have to confess, I am most alarmed by how opaque Mayor Alice Guo's answers have been, especially about her personal background. No school records from grade school to college or grade school to high school. No hospital records dahil ipinanganak sa bahay. Di masagot kung ang mga kapareho nilang address ay kamag-anak nila or hindi. At bilang public servants, gaya ng sinabi ko na kanina, transparency ang isa sa pinakamahalagang katangian. Kaya nakakadismaya talaga ang mga sagot nila. Ngayon pa na may mga documentary evidence linking the local chief executive to crime-infested POGO operations in her own town. POGO operations that we now know are possibly connected to hacking and surveillance activities. All of us can easily deduce what this might imply. Baka sa mga nanood sa ating hearing, baka may magtanong pa kung totoong Pilipino nga ba si Mayor? Baka may magtanong kung she really has a stake in her town's economic development and if she really has a stake in our country's national interest. O baka pa nga sa mga tagapanood, may maghinala na baka naman interes ng ibang bansa ang patagon nilang isinusulong. And these are all serious questions we need clear answers to. But at least for now, isa ang maliwanag. Palayasin na ang mga POGO sa bansa. Kunin ko na rin ang oportunidad na manawagan kay Presidente na kung gusto nila talagang labanan ang mga krimen at banta sa ating pambansang seguridad, he will be well advised to ban POGOs now. And the committee awaits the SALN and SOSE of Mayor Alice Guo. Muli, marami pong salamat sa ating lahat ng mga resource persons for coming. Maraming salamat, Senator Sherwin. This hearing is suspended.